engaged. So this is about earning the highest accolade. And the word earn means that every single day is your entire career in miniature. So just before we started this call, John and I were having a chat, and I was saying that I've been in this business for almost 30 years, but this is like my very first talk. I'm as excited, I'm as nervous, but I'm as pumped to really make a difference to the over 100 people on this call. So what does it mean to achieve an accolade? So an accolade is defined as an award or a privilege granted as a special honor or as an acknowledgement of merit. So anytime you attract a client, anytime you attract a recruit, anytime you enter into any kind of professional or in fact social relationship with somebody else, you are earning an accolade. And I want you to keep this as a screensaver, because you want to be reminding yourself that just having the conversation is a special honor. And just having the conversation is an acknowledgement of merit. But you've got to re-achieve or re-earn that honor or that acknowledgement of merit in every single conversation, because every conversation counts. So if you are someone who earned the highest accolade, then you become that person's most valuable resource. Now, that means you become someone who is essential to that person's success and well-being. I don't know about you, but my life is as rich as it is because of the number of go-to people that I've got in my network. There are people that I automatically turn to because they have proven themselves to be best in class, best of breed. They always come through for me. They always deliver the wow. They have become my MVRs. And you know what thrills me? For the next 60 minutes, well, now it's the next 50 minutes, right? I am the MVR in your life. That's why you are allocating time to me. And just think about this. We're all in the business of competing for other people's time. And we are living in a time where there's so much competing for people's attention and resources. So if you become the most valuable resource, you know that the other person is going to give you time at the expense of your competition. In fact, if you are someone who is somebody else's most valuable resource, other people will make time for you. So whatever else I say, if all you take away today is the question, what can I do to become others' most valuable resource, then this session will be a worthwhile investment of your time and attention. So this is one of my favorite models. And I'm going to walk you through this model because we are going through an unprecedented moment. There's something called BC, and that is before COVID. And then we went through COVID. And now we are coming out of COVID. And it seems like we are back into the clear. It seems like the great reopening is reoccurring. And then we get something called the Delta variant. And in some states or in some province in Canada, things are more favorable than they are elsewhere. But this is a crisis that never seems to end. And every single day brings new challenges. So I want to walk you through what I brand as the 6 stages of new that all of us will go through, sometimes even on a daily basis. So we begin as a beginner. That's when you are starting the job for the first time. Remember when you just got into this business? Or remember when you started a new job or you joined a new organization? You were a beginner. You were fresh, you were hot, you were shiny, you were full of possibility. You had a lot of energy, you had a lot of enthusiasm, and you knew that you would defy the odds. So you then broke through. You then achieved what they call beginner's luck. You know why there's something called beginner's luck? Because you bring that level of passion and energy and expectation, and you go from one success to another. But then no matter who you are or how good you are, you're going to hit the wall. You're going to encounter a problem that you've never encountered before. You're going to hit your limit. You're going to feel overloaded, and you're going to slow down. And that's when you break through the wall and you consolidate. You review where you've come from. you reset your sights for the future, and then you re-engage. And that's why this session is happening now. It's happening a month after the conference. It's happening as we head into the end of the year. This is the time to turn it on again. This is the time to put pedal to the metal, should I say. Because if you do that, then you head into the state of mastery. Now, mastery is when you've developed an understanding of your environment. It's when you're unleashing your inner genius. And it's when you have developed a profile or the acclaim of someone who's earned other people's time and attention. So I will tell you, just for this session, I am operating in the area of mastery. It is a beautiful feeling. But I will also tell you that I have prepared this session specifically for WFG this afternoon. And so while I'm in mastery, I'm also practicing being a beginner. And the challenge is to spend as much time here and as much time being a beginner and breakthrough if you want to succeed, because inevitably you're going to plateau. You're going to feel like you've hit a certain level, and then you're going to flatline for a few weeks or a few months until you become a beginner all over again. So there's a reason why this is a circle. It's the circle of life. And the best of you who are watching me, and in fact, if you're on this call, if you've dedicated the time to this conversation, I know you are the best of the best. How do I know that? Because the best never stop getting better. And so on this call, you are listening to me like you are a beginner, like you want breakthroughs, like you want to get through the wall, like you want to consolidate and reach mastery. And I don't know if there's anyone on this call who's in the plateau. You know, the one good thing about COVID or post-COVID is there's no one who's cruising through this environment. And let me tell you something else. There is no such thing as a post-pandemic expert. We're all rookies. We're all beginners in this new age. So your challenge is to accelerate your path to mastery. And then once you feel like you've had mastery, you want to be a beginner all over again. That's how you keep your mojo. That's how you stay refreshed. That's how you bring your energy and contribution to the folks around you. And that's how you earn the highest accolade of all. So I love this point. I have a mentor, and he said this to me one day, and I've never forgotten it. If you are the answer, what is the question, right? So what do you want people to be asking themselves in order to come to you? So if I am the answer, the question is, how do I become someone who earns the highest accolade? How do I earn the highest number of high quality clients? How do I become someone who inspires and empowers others to achieve their best? So I always ask people before I start talking to them, when it's a one-on-one and when I'm in due diligence mode, I always want to know, what's the question? Because then I want to be the answer to the question they are asking. I don't want to be the answer to the question that I'm just asking myself. So if you are watching this and you have got access to the chat, just put in the chat, you know, what is the question you want people to ask themselves in order for you to be the answer? Because if you know what people really want, then you can position or adapt yourself to whatever it is you need to be in that moment to earn the highest accolade and become the most valuable resource. Okay, so it begins with your inner game. And I want to give you what I've branded as the 5 P's of success. Now, I want to keep this very, very simple, because if you can keep it simple, that means you truly know what it is that you're communicating. And by the way, I see a chat there. What's the definition of success? Well, it's whatever is most meaningful to you. So success to Mike Lipkin is not what success is to Chi. And then often the question begins with, well, how do I? Well, that's specific. So Tina went straight to an action question, but there's a question before the action. It's what do I want before I take action? And we're going to talk about that in a moment. Then we have John saying, who can help me earn great money? Great question. Man, if you can position yourself as someone who helps people earn great money, you are going to become an MVR. Sophia says, how important is getting to the next step and how can you get me there? So good. We all want to be the bridge to the next step or the link to the next step. And then let me just read the last one here. Maya says, who is the person with positivity and full of confidence in whatever he or she does? Exactly. Hopefully you can tell as I'm talking to you here, I am just overflowing with positivity and confidence. Okay, so look, here are the 5 Ps. And if you cannot answer these 5 Ps, then your success is going to be limited. So if you do nothing else as a result of this call, just think about these 5 Ps. Number 1 is, what's your purpose? Begin with why. So my purpose is I want to get everyone excited on this call so you do things that you otherwise would not have done. Then prize. What is the one result that you want to achieve between now and the end of the year? So in my case, I will tell you, I want to achieve another 30 speaking engagements. And I have a book that is at the manuscript stage. It has to be published by the beginning of November. Those are my 2 prizes. I'm very clear, as you can hear, 30 talks and a book by the end of the year. If those 2 things happen, I'm going to have a fantastic year. Number 3, your proposition. What is your value proposition? What is it that differentiates you from everybody else in the world? Why would I come to you? And so in my case, it's because I provide people with the unique insights that get them so excited, they do things they otherwise would not have done to get results they otherwise would not have got. So it's unique insights, unprecedented action, phenomenal results that they otherwise would not have got. As you can hear, I've practiced this value proposition. And I say it over and over again. And every time I say it with even more conviction. Number 4, it's about practice. There's a reason why a lawyer has a practice, or an engineer has a practice, or a doctor has a practice. The more you practice, the better you become. But I'm not talking about mindless practice here. I'm talking about practicing in every conversation so you realize what you could do better. And then in the next conversation, intentionally applying those lessons. So I will tell you, for me, this is the real deal, but it's also practice. I'm not as good as I'm going to be tomorrow, but I am better than I was yesterday because of the practice. And then finally, there's the passion. No matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, you want to bring that passion. You want to bring that heat. Someone once said to me, champions bring the weather, no matter what the weather. So if you want to avoid that plateau, you've got to keep reminding yourself, putting it back into your mind. Why are you passionate about this? Why are you privileged to do this? So if you can answer these 5 Ps, then you're ready to go to the next level. Now, let's talk a little bit about Zoom. And I'm going to give you 3 principles here that will enable you to make your Zoom calls incredibly successful. Now, we are heading into a hybrid situation. I know that if you're on this call, there are some folks who you are still engaging with on Zoom, and then there's some folks that you might be meeting face-to-face, and there's probably a combination of both. But now there is something called the hierarchy of communication. So the first point of contact will probably be through an email. Through the email, you then get a phone call. Through the phone call, you then get a Zoom. And through the Zoom, you then get a meeting. And at every step of the way, you've got to do your job exceptionally well. So as far as Inform is concerned, and I'm just going to give you some specific actions that you can take to make sure that you give and get as much information as possible. And by the way, as John indicated, this is being recorded, so you can always tap back into this to remind yourself of some of these basic techniques that will multiply your Zoom success. So you want to send an email to introduce yourself before you make the call. Include a short video on the email. If you go to my YouTube channel or just mikelipkin.com, you'll see how many videos I have. And when I'm pitching myself, I always include just a 30-second video, which gives me an edge over the competition. Spend more time on the initial phone call, building rapport with the prospect. Get a sense of what really drives them. So John and I, what I've discovered about him, what he's discovered about me, is we both have a passion for communication. We both have a passion for being authentic. When you introduce yourself, always do it with warmth and confidence, like this is the thing you really want to do more than anything else. Build excitement in the email, build excitement on the phone call, build excitement on the Zoom call, build excitement in the face-to-face. Let clients know how privileged and eager you are to share your insights and success with them. Keep your information concise. Let them know that you provide benefits that they cannot get anywhere else. Give them reasons to engage with you so they want to know what happens next. It's like a Netflix episode. You want to know what happens next. Get them in so that you can sustain and build that conversation. Then ask important qualifying questions like, do you believe in the importance of saving for the future? Do you believe in the importance of protecting yourself and your family against unforeseen pitfalls? Do you have the budget to save? What kind of work do you do? Are both you and your spouse working? How important is it for you to save for your children's education? You know, these are questions that get the other person thinking about things that maybe they would not otherwise have thought about. The better your questions, the better your outcomes will be. And then on the phone, find times that work for the prospect, times to have the Zoom call. And then offer people the opportunity to do their research in advance. Oftentimes what I say to folks is, this is who I am. This is how you can find out more about me. And by the way, here are some other links that you can explore because I know you are interested in learning how to be even more motivated or skilled in communication. The more information you have, the earlier you have it, the more impactful, the more powerful you're going to be as you move through the next stage. So that's inform. Then what's vital is once you've set up the Zoom call, you want to confirm it. I know that one of your biggest challenges, just like mine, is ghosting. You know, people commit to the Zoom call, then you show up and they don't show up. And no matter how often it happens, it's always frustrating. So here are some ways to ensure that if people set up a Zoom call, they have the Zoom call with you. And by the way, each one of these steps brands you and confirms you as a professional. So ask if they use an agenda or a calendar so you can get the appointment booked, get it into their calendar. Get the confirmation as early as you can in the day. Every morning, confirm the afternoon or the evening call time. If the person doesn't respond within a couple hours, you know, treat that call as canceled. But send a reminder via a text message or email prior to the event. Send the link to the Zoom call 15 minutes before so they don't have to look for the link. Get a second or third appointment on the same day in case the first one doesn't work out. If, by the way, you get double booked, call back and ask if you can shift the appointment forward or back. You'll be amazed at how understanding people are in this environment. Just book more appointments. Don't be afraid to double book or triple book. Someone is going to ghost, but you want to make sure that you've got those appointments lined up. And by the way, if you do get ghosted, if the person doesn't show up, then follow up within 2 weeks. Express empathy with their circumstances. Never come across as exasperated or frustrated. Rebook the call personally, or you might be working with an assistant. If so, have them rebook the call. Decide how far out you book. I think 2 to 3 days is the optimum time period because so much is going on. And by the way, there's no time like now, especially in a virtual world. So if you feel like you've established great rapport on the phone, then set up that call immediately so that you can get them when their intention is strong. Keep track of your scheduled appointments and what you need to do, how you need to prepare for them. See if you're improving your close rates. Do more of what works and stop what doesn't. And then plan and track your calls. You cannot change what is not tracked. So have a valid tracking system week by week or month by month, whatever works best for you. So that's about confirming. And you will find you get into this cadence. And the more successful you become, the more confident you become. And then finally, you want to inspire. You want to, be grateful for the opportunity to use Zoom. So I know we've got people on this call from across this great continent, but I'm here, talking to you from Midtown Toronto. This is a dream. I hope you can tell how inspired I am. So embrace Zoom. master the technology, become as good as you possibly can. And by the way, on Zoom, project your best self, even though it's virtual. Most people are visual. They must be able to see you. So you can see with me, I've set up a stage here. I've got this big monitor behind me. I control the monitor on my iPad. I've created as appealing or appetizing a visual as I possibly can. And I hope you can see that I'm brightly lit. Whatever else happens, light yourself up from the inside out and from the outside in. Show that you are enjoying the process. When you're on Zoom or even face-to-face, the other person must think, wow, this person loves what they're doing. You know, I've seen people who are very good at what they're doing, but they don't look like they're having a lot of fun doing what they're doing. You want to be best in class. You want to be someone who earns the accolade, but you always want to show that there's nothing you would rather be doing than having a call with that person, whether it's on the phone, whether it's Zoom, or whether it's face-to-face. You want to build the urgency. You want to let people know that they should act now, but don't try and force them into a conversation. You know, Martin Luther King spoke about the fierce urgency of now. So yes, it should be urgent because it's important, but don't try and force people into making a decision, but let them know that now is the time. Procrastinate later, take action now. Always show a clear value proposition. So if we go back to whatever that value proposition is, repeat it over and over again. So this call is about giving you unique insights that get you so excited that you do those things you wouldn't have done to get results you wouldn't have got. Repeat that proposition over and over again, whatever yours is, because repetition is the mother of learning. And then finally, as was indicated on the call here, Maya said this, be the voice of optimism. Be the voice of the kind of future that the other person desires. So I hope that in those few minutes, I've given you some core insights in terms of how to get and give as much information as you can, how to confirm the Zoom call so that you minimize ghosting or no-shows. And then finally, always inspire. And the best way to inspire is by example. Be a model of the kind of thinking you're trying to create with the other person. Now, look, at the end of the day, I've got to tell you this, no matter how good you are, you're going to get maybe 9 or 10 times as many no's as you will yeses. What do we call that? We call that resilience. And I got to tell you, I'm an individual who does really well, but I usually close the deal. I get the sale about 1 out of 10 times. Now, I want to give you a little exercise to do with me. So let's say when I make a sale, let's say I make $1,000 for the point of simplicity. But I've got to get 9 no's and 1 yes to make $1,000. Are you with me? So when I get a no, I haven't just got a no. I've earned $100, right? Because I only get the yes on the 10th call. So for the first 9 calls, I haven't got 9 no's. I've got 9 times $100 because when I get the yes, it's really 1/10 of all the activity I had to go through to get the yes, right? So when I get a no, I go, yes. And when people ask me why I'm doing that, I walk them through the process. The fact that because you've just given me a no, I've got 10% of the yes, so I'm making progress. And they actually smile, they chuckle. And even if I don't close the deal with them that day, they will remember me because that was an interesting comment for me to make. It's memorable. And I put a smile on their face. So I made a deposit on the goodwill for later. So my message here is this: stay in the game. Don't give up. There are those moments where it takes all you have just to pick up the phone again or send another email or have another meeting. And that's why I put this thought in here. Winners will always lose more than losers because they're trying more things. In fact, winning is about making one more call when you don't want to make that call. And oftentimes that's the call that leads to the breakthrough. And this is where optimism and hope come in. No matter what the results have been, no matter how challenging the situation, you got to expect that call to go exceptionally well. And if it doesn't, I only have 3 words for you. Get over it and make another call. Okay, So you want to consciously create your best reality. Look, we're living in incredibly challenging times. If there is a state of mind right now, it is fatigue. And one would think that, after the summer months, people have taken a break, they're coming back and they're energized, but people are more fatigued than ever before. And so I stand before you as someone who's been around. In fact, I tell people I'm not a millennial, I'm a perennial. In fact, I'm a millennial with about 6 decades of experience. But I work very hard to ensure that I am creating my best reality. So I'll give you some steps that I take on any given day to sustain a high level of mojo and vitality. The first is I've got an optimal morning routine. So when I wake up, I want to make sure I have a good breakfast. I want to make sure I read the paper. I want to make sure I breathe, and I want to focus on the day. I have a little ritual every morning that sets me up for the day. Number 2, I have an essential exercise regimen. So I work out 7 days a week for 1 hour a day. Sometimes it's a cross trainer. Sometimes I run. Sometimes I just go for a walk, but the body is designed to move. Number 3, I get grounded with meditation and breath work. I just want to focus on why I should be grateful. I just want to focus on what I've got to look forward to. I just want to focus on all the people I love and who loves me. I want to focus on the great network that I've built. I want to be grateful for everything I have. And then I come from that place. That's what meditation is. It's just being in a quiet place and focusing on the things that motivate you. It's also remembering to breathe. Have you noticed that when you are uptight or frustrated, you breathe in a shallow fashion? You don't get enough oxygen into your brain. But when you relax, you breathe deep and you enrich your brain with oxygen. So remember to breathe and breathe deep. Number 4, develop a healthy hydration habit. Make sure you're drinking enough water, right? It's got to be at least 2 liters a day, right? And if you're a guy like me, I'm about 6 foot, about 190 pounds. It should be 2.5 or even 3 liters a day. When you drink, it helps the brain think. It also makes you feel a lot more energized. You want to focus on superfood. So things like wild salmon, things like lentils, things that are good for you, fruit and vegetables. There's a reason why we are encouraged to have multiple servings of vegetables a day. And by the way, if it's a bright color, it's probably going to be good for you. Someone told me to eat the rainbow. If it's beige, by the way, if it's just different shades of brown, it's probably going to be baked or fried, and that may not be what I brand as a superfood. Have the right supplements. Talk to your medical professionals. Talk to your health partners. Take the right supplements. So especially in the winter months, for those of us who are not out there in California with a lot of sunshine, we need to be taking supplements to replace certain vitamins that we're not getting from nature. Take care of your gut. Make sure you're having enough fiber. Make sure you stay regular. Make sure you are clean on the inside, because that allows you to think clean and move light. Number 8, practice the art of effective eating. Sometimes I see people eating at their desks. They're not even thinking. They're eating fast. They're not celebrating the food. You want to eat and savor every mouthful. Wherever possible, make sure that you're eating with someone else, not by yourself or in front of your desk. Embrace the social dividend. So in other words, make sure you let people know how much you care for them, how much you love them. I want to tell as many people as possible how much I love being with you, including you right now. I want you to know that this is really special for me. And this is a meaningful moment for me, which is why I'm leaning all the way in. And then finally, at night, wind down. About an hour before bedtime, start to dim the lights. If you can, leave your electronics outside of your bedroom. Take a warm bath before you go to sleep. Have a hot cup of tea and just chill, just relax. And if you have a partner, never go to bed angry. Let the other person how much you love, adore, and admire them. That is going to be a recipe for a good night's sleep. Okay, so this is about taking those steps that you can take irrespective of what else is going on in your life. Because when you show up, whether it's on a Zoom call, whether it's face-to-face, even if it's on the phone, people can hear your level of energy. They can hear your level of enthusiasm. They can hear whether you are delighted to be around them or not. And those are things that you cannot fake. Those are things that have got to come from the inside out. Okay, so here's my question as we move to a close here. What's your moonshot? What would you do if you were not afraid to fail? What are some of the risks that you would take? And I know that if you're on this call, you've got a high level of courage. You've taken on this possibility because you want to set yourself incredible challenges. You want to set yourself goals that might scare you because that's how you stretch. So for me, even having this call is a moonshot. You know, we only decided to launch this program today, a couple of weeks ago, as follow-up to the conference, and it's just the beginning of the Expand Your Edge program. So this for me is a moonshot, just being able to talk directly into the webcam. This is new material for me. And what I'm endeavoring to do right now is talk as though I've given this talk many times before, but in the spirit of transparency, this is the first time. Also, writing a book is a moonshot. Getting in front of massive audiences and endeavoring to make my mark on them is a moonshot. What's your moonshot? And if there's one great thing that COVID has done for us, it has shown us that magic and miracles are real. I mean, just think about the vaccine. Normally, a vaccine, as you know, would take 8 to 10 years to develop. This vaccine was developed in under a year. Pfizer pursued the moonshot. Moderna pursued the moonshot. AstraZeneca and J&J did the same. What's your moonshot? What would you do if you weren't afraid to fail? And by the way, there is no such thing as failure. The only time you fail is when you quit. And my definition of the word fail is really first action in learning, right? So when you win, you should party. When you lose, you've just had another learning opportunity. Okay, so talking about a moonshot and what you would do if you weren't afraid to fail, we're all familiar with the great biblical story of David versus Goliath. And we know that Goliath represented this giant on the part of the Philistines. They were at war with the Israelites, and they were taunting the Israelites, saying, who dares to confront Goliath? And all the folks on the Israelite side were, terrified to take on the giant, to take on the bully. And let me just say something to you, that there's a reason why David versus Goliath has stood the test of time, because we've all got a Goliath in our lives. There's always going to be someone that occurs to us as a nightmare, as a bogeyman, as someone that we are terrified of, or something that we are terrified of. We've all got that giant in there. And so here David comes along and he says, I'll take on Goliath, no problem, because he didn't know that he should be afraid. And most importantly, what David knew, what nobody else knew, is that he had a next technology weapon. So Goliath was fighting with a shield and a spear. Goliath had to get up close and personal with his enemy in order to stab them or to throw this heavy spear at them. David, on the other hand, traveled light. He had something called a slingshot. He could attack Goliath from 200 meters away. And so from the beginning, while people think David was the underdog, the truth is that Goliath didn't stand a chance. He couldn't get close to David, and David could get close to him. And, just to put a final cap on the story, Goliath had all this armor, but what's the one place he didn't arm? His head. He didn't take care of his most important organ, his brain. And that's where David hit it. So I'm going to encourage you to look for your slingshot. I'm going to encourage you to take on your Goliaths. And just know that David could discover the slingshot because he was a shepherd before he got up there. And he was used to using anything around him as a weapon. He would use the jawbone of an ass as a weapon. Whatever was available to him, that's what he used, and that's how he succeeded. And I'll tell you something else. David was an entrepreneur. He wanted to know what he would get if he slayed Goliath. Check this out. He was told he would get lifetime tax exemption. I kid you not, it's in the book, right? So he wanted to know what's in it for me. And then, he slayed Goliath, and the rest is history. So I encourage all of you to look at your life differently. Take on those challenges. Express your creativity. That's how you earn the highest accolade. And by the way, the moment you do it one time, then it starts to become a habit and you want to do it over and over again. Now, look, there might be some people on the call who are fans like I am of Seth Meyers. And as you know, he's the host of NBC's Late Night with Seth Meyers. Now, I've got this book coming out and I actually wrote about Seth Meyers. I want to read you this one paragraph because I think it's relevant to all our lives. So Seth Meyers, host of NBC's Late Night with Seth Meyers, is an Imagineer who resonates deeply with me. Listen to this. 4 nights a week, he tapes his show at 6:30 p.m. for broadcast at 12:35 a.m. So I just want you to know that 4 nights a week, he's creating this pretty intricate, pretty complex show with a team of people. He really encapsulates the news of the day and all its weirdness with emergency room urgency. Imagine he's had that day, and every time, 4 times a week, they've got to take news of the day and put it into a show. He and his team test the nightly material with live audiences at 4 p.m. ahead of the taping. So think about that. They have the live show at 6:30, which is what you and I see at 12:35, but they have a dry run every single day at 4 p.m. so that by the time the main show comes around, they have already learned, they are using their experiences, and they are already better. This enables them to present a fine-tuned package of clarity and humor as part of the show. As Meyers says, I think that's the best thing we can hope to provide, which is the catharsis, the freedom of laughter with a subject that people wouldn't otherwise be laughing at. So this is Seth Meyers, right? We look at a man, we think that his life is pretty simple. We see the glamour, but what we don't see is that emergency room urgency with which they put together the material, the dry run they have at 4 o'clock, and then the recording at 6:30, which is why Seth Meyers is Seth Meyers. So how do you become your version of Seth Meyers? And that's what I'm endeavoring to do, which is to become the best version of me in my talk show for WFG today. Okay, last couple slides here. I'm a great believer in the power of acronyms to keep things really, really simple. So I'm going to encourage you to remember 4 things when you're communicating with anyone, and whether this is on the phone, whether it's on Zoom, or whether it's face to face. Communicate with care. Now, the C stands for clarity. You really want to be clear in what you're communicating and how you're communicating. So I know that in this short period of time, I'm communicating a lot to you, but I'm endeavoring to be as clear as I can with my content and also with my pronunciation so that you can hear it, you can understand it, so you can start to internalize it. The A is you got to talk with authority. You got to talk sometimes with an authority that you might not even feel. So as I'm talking to you now, while I've rehearsed this, just like Seth Meyers has rehearsed it, this is the real thing. But I'm talking as though I've done it many, many times. And as I tell people, I'm often wrong, but I'm never in doubt. I'm willing to fumble and stumble, but I want people to hear the authority in my voice. And by the way, if I don't get it right, I'll do it again until I do. And if I don't have the information, I'll find the information and get back to you. There are 2 kinds of knowledge. There's knowing what to do, and then there's knowing who knows what to do. The R is reassurance. And now more than ever, what's so important is to reassure people that you will take care of them. I don't know about you, but the people that I have given my accolades to make me feel safe. I know that if they're in my corner, if they're on my team, everything is going to be just fine. And then the E is empower. Give people the tools, give people the means, give people the techniques and the strategies so that they can own their success. Share with them what it is that you want them to do. Get them to feel that sense of ownership, that sense of enablement. So clarity, authority, reassurance, and empowerment. If you communicate with care, then every conversation is going to be a masterpiece.